Hello, and welcome to another episode of Talking with Anomaly. I'm your host, Anomaly, and today we're talking a little bit about the BlizzCon schedule. So, Blizzard released their schedule last week for what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be seeing at BlizzCon this weekend. And they have a couple of interesting notes. So, I wanted to sort of talk through a little bit about what's upcoming, when you guys can check it out, and then also what my predictions are for what we might see at this year's BlizzCon. So this year's BlizzCon is, of course, online only. They will be doing a bunch of different live streams out of the BlizzCon.com website. You can head over there. I'm showing the schedule up here. It looks like they're going to be having about 6 different channels, 6 different streams going on at every one point in time. And everything kicks off this Friday, February 19th at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. So they'll do their typical opening ceremony, about an hour long, probably a lot of different sizzler reel type things, a couple of announcements, and then they break into their different sort of channels and highlights and things like that, where essentially they do the same thing I think they do all the time. They'll do, hey, what's coming up in this franchise? Hey, maybe a deep dive, maybe something specific like art or story or narrative, and things like that. So that's what we'll see Friday night, and then Saturday they kick it off with Q&As across the board for the different franchises, and then of course some cosplay. There's like a cooking stream for WoW, things like that. So a bunch of different stuff this weekend. Tons of hopefully new and interesting things. We'll see. I think the Q&A is going to be a little bit different. They started taking questions this week across their franchises, so it won't be sort of live and audience stuff. We'll see how that goes. They sort of generally pick some pretty softball questions for a lot of their other Q&As. I doubt BlizzCon will be different, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be a little interesting, a little more interesting than it has been in the past. But the big thing, of course, is what I wanted to focus on today. Some of our predictions, particularly around World of Warcraft. So a bunch of different sort of rumors out there, things like that across the board. And I'd like to break it up into sort of 2 points. Number one, what are we getting from a retail perspective? And number two, what are we getting in terms of classic WoW? So what are going to happen? In terms of classic, we'll start there. What I think will end up happening is we will probably get to see the next evolution of classic WoW, which of course would be the introduction of the Burning Crusade expansion and a classic version of that. I think that is going to be the major announcement from a World of Warcraft perspective, or not the major, but one of the major announcements from a World of Warcraft perspective, as we'll get to see the Burning Crusade in terms of a classic expansion. Now, how this is going to work, what are the logistics of it? That's yet to be seen. I think a lot of things will be very interesting if they allow you to sort of take your level 60 characters over to a brand new server, or if they're just going to upgrade everything in place and sort of, vanilla classic WoW gets spun up on newer servers somewhere. I think there's a couple different ways you could take it. You could even allow like copies. We talked a little bit about this on the Peak podcast this week, but potentially copies to a new TBC server. But then you run into maybe some market exploitation where people are copying the same character over and over again to get massive amounts of free gold essentially. So we'll see how it works out. It'll definitely be interesting, but I for one am actually pretty excited about Burning Crusade. I think Burning Crusade was sort of the piece or the part where the expansion, where I sort of started to really gain interest in World of Warcraft, really started to want to play better, get more involved with everything. So I'm excited. Burning Crusade has a special place in my heart. It was probably some of the most fun I had playing. A lot of the guys and people that I play games with today, I met during this time frame, and I'm still friends with. Met in real life, all that type of stuff. So TBC should be fun. We're interested to get back there. Probably play a Warlock again. The old one button Shadow Bolt only build. It's gonna be good. So yeah, hopefully we see that. It'll be interesting. Other than that, for actual vanilla, classic WoW servers, where do they go from here? Nax is out. Basically, everything's done. So maybe they talk about a reset strategy, right? Where they do like yearly resets or, every 18 months, basically everybody goes back to zero. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, classic TBC. Let's get it. Let's get it. Next up, of course, number two, what I talked about is what's going to happen in retail. I think retail is pretty set in stone. We will see what 9.1 is. We may see a quick glimpse of whatever the next raid is. We will be, I don't know, we'll see something the next content patch. We'll probably also hopefully get get some additional details and maybe some additional changes on the PTR. Although, I mean, to be fair, if you were to ask me a week ago what I thought was going to happen, I thought it was going to be PTR this weekend. They released it early, released a bunch of details early, put another video up on some of the Mistweaver changes previously. I don't think there's going to be much PTR focus. I think it's going to be a lot of future focus, story, next raid. I think we're going to see previews of all that, of where they're taking WoW in 9.1 in that first major content patch. So, sort of some speculative things is, I think with 9.1 we end up getting some sort of new activity in terms of you know whether, I don't want to use Warfronts as an example because they were terrible, but the idea is we will get sort of the next sort of content activity that comes out with this, which will be fun. It'll be interesting to see that. Um, Story wise, next raid, next sort of piece to move forward. I honestly think the next raid ends up being probably in Maldraxxus somewhere. I think that is where we will sort of shift our focus in terms of fighting Kel'Thuzad, and I think that's where that sort of the raid goes. Based on my enormous lore knowledge, very little, but no, I think that'll be cool. I think that's probably where my head's at, where I think it is. So we'll see. There is an interesting panel, basically Friday evening, around the around the World of Warcraft deep dive, which will be fun to sort of see, what they're getting into. If I read quickly about this, basically just a deeper delve into World of Warcraft with the development team, it'll be interesting to see what they actually cover here. I'm hoping it's more on the system side than like on anything else, because it's definitely interesting the way they've ticked and tied everything together in terms of like how well functions, how they built the platform, things like that. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I think, we're definitely going to see 9.1. I'm thinking a raid, not thinking a raid, but I'm thinking the raid will be headed over to Maldraxxus, fighting, Kel'Thuzad, fighting some liches. I think it'll be fun. But other than that, I mean, I'm just excited. BlizzCon, there's going to be Diablo stuff, outside of this, Diablo stuff's going to be fun. Maybe some Overwatch 2 is coming out, so we get to see more about what exactly Overwatch 2 is. So if you're into the Blizzard franchises, definitely BlizzCon. It's that weekend. It's the time to be hyped pretty much about everything. But for me, World of Warcraft, and then really, I mean, low key, it's Diablo Immortal. I think that's going to be good. I have a cell phone. I can play it. So, other than that, let me know in the comments below. What are you guys' predictions? What are you guys thinking? And you guys have a good rest of your week, and we will talk to you later. Bye.